Hi, my name is Patricia Juarez de Delgado, and tonight I will present you 4.3, describe the role that ATP plays in a cell and describe ATP general structure, and 5.3, describe what it means by electromagnetic spectrum of energy. Okay. ATP molecule. Describe the role that ATP plays in a cell. A cell, a living cell, cannot store high amount of energy because it will denature the enzymes of proteins. Therefore, it will destroy the cell because this high amount of energy will be in a high heat and it is going to destroy the cell. So the cell must be able to store energy and releases as needed. So therefore, the cells, any living cells, can use the molecule of ATP. In order to understand more this molecule and how it functions, I will break it down into pieces. First, we will see this part right here. We're going to break it down into two parts so we can understand. This part right here is the adenine, and then the ribose right here. Also, the triphosphate, this is the adenosine part. Then the triphosphate part will be these three groups here of phosphoryl. This is the group number 1 here of phosphoryl, and then we have the group number 2 of phosphoryl, and then we have the group number 3 of phosphoryl right here. 1, 2, 3. And then we have the adenosine right here. When the ATP is broken down, usually by the removal of its terminal phosphate groups, energy is released. This energy is used to do the work by the cell, usually by the binding of the released phosphate to another molecule, thus activating it. For example, muscle contraction, ATP uses a supply to move the contracted muscle protein. Another part that I would like to explain here is that this adenine, the structure of the ATP shows that the basic components of 2 rings of adenine and 5 carbons ribose here, and the 3 groups of triphosphate. So, in order to understand how this ATP molecule functions, we will write here the adenine and the 3 phosphates here, right? And because this concentration has a high energy state and is stored, then one phosphate will be pop out. If we use the water and do the hydrolysis, the ATP that is stored, all the energy that is stored in this part, after it's added with, after this phosphate is pop off, then the ATP will transform into ADP because it will have one less of phosphate. So it will be adenosine diphosphate, and the energy is released. This is how the ATP molecule functions. Also, it's like a rechargeable battery. So when molecules needs to release energy, this is how it functions. But when the cells needs to use energy, then it will be added, this phosphate will be added again to the ATP and will be transformed again into ATP. So the cycle will go on and on. Okay, so it means that the electrons in the bone, these electrons here in the bone, are in a high energy state, and if somehow this bone could be broken, these electrons here and are going to go into a more comfortable, lower energy state. In addition of a phosphate group to a molecule requires a high amount of energy and result in a high energy bond. Phosphate groups are negatively charged and thus repel one another when they are arranged in series. I guess when they repel it's like this, and they go like that. And this repulsion makes the ADP and ATP molecules inherently unstable. The releases of one or two phosphate groups, a process called hydrolysis, releases energy. Okay, so this is all for the ATP. And now we're going to go to the second part, which is 5.3, describe what it means by electromagnetic spectrum of energy. So here I draw the electromagnetic spectrum according to the book. Because I'm using a white paper, I cannot leave this in white because you won't be able to see it. So this is my sun, and see, we supposed to see the visible light there, right? So the sun emits enormous amounts of electromagnetic radiation and solar light. Human can only see the visible light, but there are other colors like violet, blue, green, yellow, orange, red that comes from the electromagnetic radiation or solar energy. The manner in which solar energy travels can be described and measured by waves. Scientific determine the amount of energy of a wave by measuring by its wavelength. What it means with that, like example right here, wavelength. You can see that the wavelengths are more stretched and more tight, and together. Therefore, they store a lot of energy there. But here you can see that the wavelengths and the crest of the waves are very separate, and so there's less energy there. Okay. So yeah, the distance between two consecutive similar points in a series of waves, such as from crest to crest, crest to crest, or throw to throw. Crest here in the high and the lowest in throw. Okay, so the electromagnetic spectrum is the range of possible wavelengths of radiations. So it's the length between, one wavelength and the other. The sun emits energies in the form of electromagnetic radiation. This radiation exists in different wavelengths, each of which has its own characteristic energy. Visible light is one type of energy emitted from sun, like the one that I draw here. That's the visible light. The sun emits a broad range of another electromagnetic radiations, such as gamma, ray X, UV, which are ultraviolet UVs. The higher energy waves are dangerous to living things. For example, X-rays and UVs and UV rays can be harmful to humans. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much and have a good night.